Hey, what is up guys, Marty here, back to do another video, and straight off of the bat from that Green Zero video, I'm going to be casting two games that I played on Hampstead Gardens, which is Green Zero's map. This is the map that Green Zero put into the game, and he is proud of it. It is available in R20. You can find the links in the description below for R20, and don't forget to also check out the 4K mod if you haven't already, guys. Make sure you got a good computer for that. But just get that advertising out of the way, because I want you all to download and get R20 if you haven't got it already. So a quick tour of this map. Obviously I have no control over the camera because I'm commentating over this replay, but there are 2 Tiberium spikes per player, 2 of which are located in the corners. That is to say, there's 1 spike for the top team in the top left corner, and for the bottom player there's a spike in the bottom right corner. A bit of criticism that this map has received is that engineers can be sniped by buzzers in the top and bottom spike, so that is one potential issue you have to deal with, but it's not too bad. I haven't seen it be a problem very often. Green Zero claims to have did his homework. He's made the dimensions the same as, I believe, Tournament Arena, so the expansion distances are the same as an EA map. It's a symmetrical map. He mirrored it, and there is some excellent attention to detail on it as well. It's a blue zone. Not sure what 2042 represents. Is it Battlefield 2042? Is there some other meaning to this? I don't know. Green Zero did not specify. He did make a video on Hampstead Gardens. I can't remember what he said in that, but he showcased the map's development. He had footage from that. I may also put that in the description down below. But in this particular game, I'm going to be playing as ZOCOM, and it is very hot here now. It's getting near to summer, so the temperatures are 30 degrees pretty much every day from this point on. I have to commentate this video today if I want a video up, because there is a storm coming. 30 millimeters of rain heading my way. That sounds like blackouts for energy, so I'm going to upload this video probably on the weekend. You'll see this uploaded on Saturday. I'm going for an APC push. I think I'm going for AP ammo. That's why I purchased the tier 2. No rig, just AP ammo, APCs, and I'm against Trawler 59, so this is going to be good against those disintegrators, against those cultists. However, the cultists can just nab one of the APCs and retreat. There's a trick you can do with cultists where you waypoint to capture the enemy unit and then waypoint back. It's faster than microing it manually. Waypoint with cultists works well. I built a airfield here just to summon in the V-35 Ox transports, so I can get these slow moving shadow tanks to the front line a little bit faster. It's only $200 in Kane's Wrath to use the V-35s. In the vanilla game, the sub-faction V-35s had practically no health. That was a bug. The GI ones could withstand way more damage. So I'm going to drop the 2 shallower tanks here. That's cut a significant amount of time from this unit getting to the front line. That's going to help me cut through these photon cannons. A nice amount of damage happening there with the ZOCOM Orca Strike. This map and game was played on R20B, so the most recent Harvester fixes do not apply in this particular game. So if you see a bugging Harvester, it's not because it's the most recent R20 patch, but it is R20B. You'll find the change log for R20 again in the description. I'll have everything down there. I may not be able to provide this time the replays for this series because the games weren't recent. The next game is actually a game I played very recently, but this one here was quite a while ago, and it did stick out to me for good reason. You'll find out later as this game progresses. But that APC Shatterer push failed. I did not accomplish anything.
Snake's patch complains about balance kappa.
And I must have been complaining about balance there. I often do say things when I'm playing. It's most often than not that I'm just rusty and I'm not microing too well. But it's the results that matter more than petty complaints. I see often in Discord players complain about things, and I never make changes in R20 or 1.2 plus because I lost a game. It's not my decision to change things based on my own personal experiences and losses. It's only when there's community consent over the changes that I change them. I want to make Mechapede range more. I want to undo the nerf that CGF did with Mechapedes, but I understand that that would cause problems, so I'm not doing that. But that's just my view on the mecha. Some things were influenced by me, but for the most part, it was a group of people who came up with the change list. I of course implemented the changes in 1.2 plus, R19 and R20. Those two updates consist of most of the balance changes ever in 1.2 plus history. Despite the naming convention, the previous two versions have been pretty much the whole entire work and more of 1.2 plus since 2012 in singular updates. So they're a patch in their own right. I've got a mixed army here of APCs and Shatterers, a very good combination to use against Traveler 59. The APCs will provide great cover. I also believe I've got some sniper teams inside of those APCs, which is going to allow me to snipe those cultists very effectively and the Prodigy as well. And that's a nice bit of attention to detail you guys just heard there. The sniper team, when it loses one of its squad members, has a different voice line. The spotter has a different select sound. Cultists go down. I'm trying to place these minefields, but I can't. It's a great opportunity too, because those tripods are trying to crush me. Tripods crush much better in 1.02 plus now, because I made them slow down to 40% speed, which is what the Titan does. And that fixes the bug where units such as Titans don't crush effectively. They just walk over the unit and the unit doesn't get crushed. So one workaround that EA used was they slowed down the unit before crushing to 40% speed, and that gave the engine time to run the crush code, I guess. I've got ZOCOM Orcas, but they're unfortunately on the other side of the map. I'm trying to snipe this drone ship here, but I don't have the time to do so. I'm not going to unload the entire clip on that drone platform. You can press the S key on your keyboard, and you can control effectively the ammunition distribution of the ZOCOM Orcas. So I've still got these units out on this map. I've got my expansion established as well. And those ZOCOM Orcas are very hard for Scrin to contend with. Shatterer tanks, APCs, snipers, EMP grenades, and ZOCOM Orcas. That is what I'm relying on against Traveler. And if you give it some thought, all these units combined can deal with almost every threat in the game from Traveler 59. Fortunately, Traveler units don't move nearly as well. The vehicles don't move nearly as fast as Nod units, so these ZOCOM Orcas can be more effective. Against Nod, Bike Buggy completely nullifies the usefulness of ZOCOM Orcas. Whereas GDI and Scrin, they're a little bit more vulnerable to them because they don't spam Pitbulls all day, they don't spam Seekers all the time. Seekers are not great against GDI factions for the simple reason that AP ammo destroys them. They have a big weakness to gun damage. Overlord's Wrath coming down on this force. It's a good support power to use against enemy units in your own base, because you do get to harvest that. So even though he did minimal damage to my force, he's going to get that Tiberium back once he starts harvesting it. And since I've done minimal economic damage, he'll have a lot of harvesters, so he'll be able to reclaim that Tiberium. I've got my commando out here, and because the Buzzer Swarm has already been used, this commando is only going to die really to Mecha Peas and Gunwalkers. There's plenty of Gunwalkers out on this map. I'm going to purchase the upgrades from my Zone Raiders because I now intend to transition into the Zone Raiders. In R20 they got a damage boost to the rockets, the anti-air rockets. Commando goes down but trades for a Prodigy. Prodigies cost $2,500. My Commando is a little bit cheaper at $2,000. Ion Cannon coming down, just in case this game drags on into the late game. It's a little less effective against Scrin factions because they can counter it with the Stasis Shield and the Phase, but only one such counter exists for Traveler. They don't have a Stasis Shield. Temporal Wormhole would actually hinder those units. Imagine how slow units would move in Temporal Wormhole whilst an Ion Cannon strike is coming down, which already nerfs the speed of units. I can't imagine how slow that would be. It would stack. The speed reduction would almost certainly stack. Storm Rider coming into my base. That's going to ring alarm bells. There's going to be some Prodigy coming into my base. Probably going to wormhole that in. I got my Marv out here. Commando is back out on this map. I've got plenty of Zone Raiders. So this game here, I'm just demonstrating what you can do with ZOCOM, what kind of strategy you can do against Scrin. And I've played against many players doing this specific strategy, and it has not once failed me playing as the ZOCOM faction. You don't have to Firehawk. It's not necessary. In fact, I'd argue this is more effective.
Tiberium exposure detected. Holding steady. High alert.
And these Zone Raiders can miss moving targets, but they do come with those anti-air rockets, plus the damage of them is more than the Zone Trooper. So the reduced range is made up for the fact that they have those additions. Commando ranking up down there, taking out refineries, taking out storm columns, and he is doing a lot of work. One thing in 1.02 Plus now is the Commando doesn't take any damage when it is teleporting with its jump jet. The same goes for the Zone Trooper and Zone Raider. When you use that ability, you can't take any damage whilst it is in transit. Devastator warships out, but I've already got the response in the form of those Firehawks, and I'm forced to retreat because those Zone Raiders can't really contend with the dev ships. Now that those dev ships are gone, I'll be able to resume the offensive and send my forces back in there. I've got a Commando. I'm probably going to heal him up inside of an armory. Speaking of, the Commando withstands a Buzzer Swarm support power. Not often do you see that. That's going to allow him to promote to Elite. So you can see how effective these Commandos are. And that Commando just has a Death Wish jumping into a Buzzer Swarm, then subsequently defeating that Buzzer Swarm support power. Another Prodigy out. I'll be able to snipe that with my Commando, but since it's an Elite Commando here, it's a little bit more valuable to me. These are pretty tough to rank up. One Buzzer Hive is enough to scare me back. There's even a Corruptor, so I want to have something to deal with that. No, it's a Mechapede, so I'm going to retreat with my Jump Jet and send my army in there to kill that Mecha. The Marv and Zone Raiders should be enough to defend him. Now, we've both depleted our tip fields. There's Hexapod out. Hexalame is in action. My army is pretty small. I got an Ion Cannon. There's also a Rift Generator as well, but my super weapon will fire off before his. I've got these Firehawks. I'm going to put them on anti-air loadout so I can deal with devastated warships, which is really one of the only threats to my army. Area mine control comes down on that infantry, but it only lasts 6 seconds on infantry. On vehicles, it's significantly longer. I EMP'd the tripod, which will allow my commando to kill it. And now I'm going to use the commando to jump onto that tripod. So I killed 2 tripods. The commando promotes to heroic, so not often you see heroic commandos. Got a heroic commando here. He's not going to do a whole lot even though he's heroic, but he's going to get that self-healing, which is key. And that area mine control just kills, vaporizes my infantry because the commander just turns around and guns all of them down instantly. I'm running out of options though against this Eradicator Hexpod. There's just far too much healing on it. That commander, even though it's heroic, is of limited use against so many corruptors, against all of these base defenses. So I'm going to build a couple of ZOCOM Orcas, and I'm going to use those to splash the corruptors because I need to deal with that somehow. Another option I have here is to build a Space Command uplink and use the Shockwave Artillery on the enemy corruptors. But the 2 Grenadiers, if I can land an EMP, I'll be able to isolate the Hexapod from the corruptors and take out one or the other. Devastated warship out. That commando I'm microing separately. And this is pretty tricky. I rebuilt my command post. I must have sold it off. I'm going to use that to build more grenadiers because I'm lacking in EMP. I've got the 2 firehawks out to deal with those devastators. They are unshielded ones. Traveler instead get the Traveler engines upgrade, which increases the speed of their devastated warships and planetary assault carriers. The Marv is moving in. It is garrisoned up. I made sure to put in the zone raiders that lost the most amount of squad members. And this commando is just going to run forward. I could take out that drone ship, but I've got my sight set on this commando. If I can kill that, that'll be great. I jump in. I kill the commando. I kill the technology assembler. Buzzstorm comes in, but he misses the commando, and I was able to get that rift generator. So that commando for sure paid off. All the EMP landed on this hex. Most of the corruptors fell there to those zone raiders, and now this EMP should be enough to take out this Eradicator Hexapod. It is getting very low on health. That Marv is insane. Look at its triple rotating barrel, which you can only find in 1.2 plus R20. And that was a crazy game there on Hampstead Gardens, a game I wanted to highlight against Traveler 59. ZOCOM there prevailing conventionally without Firehawk lane. Nonetheless though, I thought that was a fun game, and it was a great game to showcase the commando as well, that Jedi commando promoting twice to that heroic status, surviving multiple times. And I thought that it was a great demonstration of that unit. So let's go on to the next game and see what the next one is all about. Alright guys, and I'm back to do game number 2. And before I begin this second game, I'd like to point your attention to the chat. Cyberstorm is back, the real Cyberstorm. The guy who we haven't seen in many years. He's one of the OG players in Kane's Draft. He has been around, well, was around before me. I've played overall more games than him. He's got 4 rank 87 accounts. He's got one for each color in the game. So he's got the Nod one, the GDI one, the Scrin one, and then the black one for neutral. Because if you play equal amount of games with all 3 of the factions, then you get the black badge. So that's rather impressive. I believe Tuma, another player from the past, had the black badge as well. Besides that, I don't think anyone has achieved it. So this game here is once again going to be on Hampstead Gardens. It's going to be ZOCOM. So ZOCOM and Hampstead Gardens, and you're probably thinking, is this a repeat of the last game, Leaf? No, it is not. I'm against Eclipse. I'm against Nod. So ZOCOM versus Nod, obviously tipped highly in favor of Eclipse. I've got a series with Eclipse and Rex to post on my channel in a few days' time, so stay tuned for that. I have yet to edit that series, but it will be out on my channel. I'll probably let my Patreons have early access to it. So if you are a Patreon member, you'll be able to watch that series edited before anyone else. I try to post things on there for early access. Plus you get sneak peeks for work that I do on the community patches, though at the moment I'm not doing as much since of course R20 is finished. But for all of you who are supporting me on Patreon, I'd like to give a big thank you to you guys, because without your support I would not have had the motivation to put all of this time into 1.02 Plus, the patch, the 4K mod, and I believe it has made a difference. I think for sure, I mean, it objectively has, because the harvester bug fix is in effect. So many things have been fixed. The game, I believe, is in a better state now than it has ever been. And I think that things have moved on when it comes to this. Plus, you've got the return of the ranked 1 versus 1 ladder. Toxic Shock, Phantom, those guys approved R20 maps to be in the ranked 1 versus 1 ladder. So you'll find that you can play those ranked games on Revora now, and you'll be rewarded with more XP. So if you're trying to rank up your account online, if you play ranked games, you can achieve those ranks much faster by playing ranked games. So I encourage you guys to play ranked if you want to gain levels on your 1 versus 1 accounts. I know some people might say, oh, that doesn't matter, Leaf, but I think proficiency is important for the new player experience. I think having these badges and ranks is good, because it gives you, it indicates that you're progressing, unless you're Baggio or someone who has a rank 87 account and hasn't seemed to have improved in any sense. I've got pit bulls. I went 2 war factories. This is a very Green Zero-esque strategy, 2 war factory pit. I was curious, can a Green Zero strategy work on a Green Zero map? This was already spotted though by Eclipse somehow. He was already prepared for this. He's gone 2 war factory. He had so many Scorpion tanks out when I arrived, so he must have been making them as soon as he built his 5th harvester. I've got 2 groups of pit bulls. One of them is lacking in numbers. That's not enough pit bulls I have in my first group to really threaten his harvesters, but if he Q moves back to his base, I could find a gap and get into his expansion and kill a harvester. Nonetheless, I'm looking for an opening, and I actually like this map. I like this map. The games I'm having on it, I'm particularly enjoying. I want to bring you more games on this map. This game here you're watching now is very recent. I played this just 2 days from the recording of this video. So this will indeed include the harvester bug fix, as well as the other changes which you may find in the patch log. That again can be found in the video description. Lots of show matches, lots of videos, lots of content to come when it comes to Kane's Wrath. These pitbull assaults aren't going too well for me. I haven't been able to do any economic damage. Eclipse has been holding well. He's got these Scorpion tanks out, but I'm responding with Predator tanks. And in this community patch, ZOCOM Pred tanks don't reward insane amount of XP. In vanilla, if you lost a Pred tank as ZOCOM, you'd reward your opponent with the equivalent XP of a Mammoth tank. So that was pretty insane. Pred spam, not something you see too often, but even against fully upgraded Scorpion tanks with laser capacitors, those Predator tanks are very effective, especially when later on I combine them with aircraft. You can go Hammerheads, you can go ZOCOM Orcas. and that will make this ground force of mine even stronger. That's the strength of all GI factions, combined arms. Steel Talons relies heavily on its air support because Titans are slow otherwise. They can't retreat. In fact, they even say that they can't retreat, but the reason they can't is because they move too slow and they can't reverse move. An aircraft gives you the option to pull back because your opponent may not have the AA necessary, and that will allow your Titans to pull back, or Predator tanks. That Pitbull hit squad though is being very annoying. Fnatic squad's coming out, wrecking my Pred tanks. And interestingly, I built a crane here. Why did I build one? Because I knew I was probably get one clicked, and because I put my crane on the most left part of my ground control, I left enough room to spread my refinery that I'm building. Because he's going to one-click one of the refineries, and I'll have that third refinery ready to drop, so it doesn't matter if I lose the refinery there. I anticipated I would get clicked. I'm going for a double airfield Orca though, because I knew that these Scorpion tanks would be out in mass. I'm not really concerned about stealth tanks because I've kept so many pitbulls around. I've got 17 pits, so stealth tanks really aren't a concern. He's not going to be building stealth tanks against mass pitbulls, so this is somewhat of a double bluff, since now I'm going for ZOCOM Orcas, which would otherwise be bad, but against Scorpion tanks, it's actually a pretty good idea to do this. I don't want to overcommit into pitbull spam because this map is quite restrictive sometimes. So even though I'm finding empty spaces to go with these pits, when the Nod player starts to go to MCV, there'll be less room for me to maneuver my army. Scorpion tanks find my harvesters, those pull back, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find something of interest in his base. I can see the tech center, the silhouette of it. That is stealth though, but the pitbulls will be able to reveal that for me. And because the laser fence on that tech lab was cast a little too late, the bonus armor it granted was very minimal. That allowed my 7 orcas to kill that tech lab. It delayed and cancelled the laser capacitor upgrade, which is huge for me. Meanwhile, I'm getting underway in expansion. You can see this harvester bug fix is helping ZOCOM out a lot. I'm not experiencing any bugs on my harvesters, on my refineries. Orcas reloading, rearming, and it's really helping ZOCOM, because before, when you had many harvesters stacking on one refinery, you would get a hard bug here and there, and that would have been disastrous. There's a bunch of Scorpion tanks there just waiting to harass me. This is destroying that tier 3 though did buy me significant time. There's infantry heading my way. Not upgraded with the Confessors, but it seems like they have the Tib Infusion upgrade, so they're going to get an increase to their movement speed. Hit points as well is increased. I've got the alternate repair decal in my game. If you want that, guys, then you can download the alternate 4K mod. There's an option in the installer that you can tick to enable that decal that you see in my games. Venoms will respond to these ZOCOM orcas. None of these units have lasers yet. Imagine if that laser upgrade had been completed. This would have been a very different scenario. These orcas probably would have taken losses. Venoms really need that upgrade to do anything. I got all these APCs out, mostly to deal with the infantry, but they'll come in handy against those Venoms. That's one thing I like about playing ZOCOM and GDI over Steel Talons. The Wolverine can't shoot up. These APCs though are a little bit more versatile. They deal with more threats. Pit APC, a very powerful combination. Stealth tanks will not get far versus this. And I can even start throwing down these sensor pods everywhere, so I get early warning of stealth tanks coming my way. I'll even be able to detect vertigo bombers. I'm going to take a risk and go into this force. See if I can snipe some of this infantry. The Scorpion tanks are not yet there to respond. But all those infantry falls. So I took a nice trade there. And my option at this point is to go for a Marv or Mammoth tanks. Since I'm floating a lot of cash, 2 War Factory Mammoth is not a bad idea. I purposely did not spend my resources because resources are limited. I'm soon going to be out of Tiberium. Granted, I am growing back my field at my original base, but I want to go into tech units now because they're more cost effective compared to these Pred APCs and Pitbulls. As ZOCOM, it's vital to be cost effective. Not get that C Tiberium. Their units inherently with Tib core and lasers are more effective than mine. So I need to make use of the aircraft that I have, but with the base push it's going to be tricky. If I can hold out until this Marv comes out, I'll be able to push this MCV. That's a large army to support my Marv, so if I can get this Marv out, I will be having a good time. 3 Mammoth tanks out for me. Those have the changes in R20 where the rockets deal slightly more damage. The turret moves significantly faster as well. So if threats approach the Mammoth tank from behind, the Mammoth will be able to reorient its gun much faster and deal with that threat. And I want to pay your attention to all of those harvesters at my expansion. There's no bugging. There's like 7 harvesters, 9 harvesters on that one tib field, and not one bug happened. That is affecting games, because usually back in the day you'd have problems with that many harvesters on a single tib field. Redeemer is out for me. I'm going to have to pull these forces back, otherwise I'm just going to get rage gen and I will lose. The Redeemer is out. I killed 1 or 2 harvesters, but Eclipse has income, whereas I don't. He has more fuel left in the tank, whereas I myself, I am running dry out of income. I'm building a space command uplink so I can EMP the Redeemer. That's really what I'm trying to do here. Marv moving forward. I've got those ZOCOM Orcas which I'm going to use as bombers and take out these Obelisks of Light. The huge amount of burst damage of those ZOCOM Orcas makes them a very viable unit against the buildings such as Obelisks. And I'm going to use the shockwave artillery on this Redeemer, but Eclipse decided to throw it in upon losing all those Venoms. A big micro mistake from him. But yeah, that was a pretty good game. I thought that was a good demonstration as well of ZOCOM against Nod. That game, he threw it in a bit preemptively, but he was a bit tilted after that engagement where he lost the Venoms and he took huge damage before. So yeah, that was a fun game, and that was really the first showcase of this map. I have been playing it here and now. I did see it a couple times in people's videos, but I never saw a dedicated video to this map with games played. So I hope you all enjoyed this game, guys, and this video. And if you did, then don't forget to hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already to stay notified of when I'm going to be uploading. Anyways, this is going to be me, Master Leaf. Peace out.